parents all worked in the plant, and they were all deathly afraid that their whole family was going to be deported and that their lives were going to be taken out from under them, and they didn't know why they should go on. That's bad immigration policy. We know that. That must be fixed. But it's also about making sure we have the resources to help people with their mental health problems. Long-term care. That's the elephant in the room. I'm actually excited to deal with this because there's so many opportunities for us. We have seniors that want to work. We have seniors that want to work part-time, that want to volunteer. I said this in a room like this about a month ago, and someone said, we're laughing. I go, why are you guys laughing? They go, well, we're working, but we want to retire. So we are the opposite. But there's just a lot of different situations as we see an aging of our population. And so to me, that means strong Social Security and making sure it's solvent. It means strong Medicaid, but it's also looking more innovatively at what we're going to do. When we have seniors we want to help, we have people my age and younger who are taking care of their own kids, but then also wanting to make sure their aging parents have the best care that they can get. It means putting some money, and I found a way to pay for this, putting some money into helping people afford long-term care insurance. My dad's story kind of projected out. At some point, he got long-term care insurance that allows him to stay in this house with 15 people where he's happy. I know exactly when that's going to end, in a year and a half. Then we go into his savings, which isn't as much as he should have because he got married 3 times, but we'll let that go. Then he goes on Medicaid. And Catholic Elder Care is willing to take him in then because the place he is now doesn't take Medicaid. And our story is actually a better story than so many families. It's a better story than so many families because a lot of people didn't get that long-term care insurance. So making that easier to afford, helping with long-term care, and realizing that all these policies also apply to people with disabilities, and understanding that we have to help caregivers, that we have to fully fund IDEA, in addition to making sure that we make it easier for people with disabilities and their families to put money aside for them and save. So long-term care is actually an exciting thing for us to work on, but we're not going to work on it if we keep relitigating the Affordable Care Act. Other challenges, education. I am always teasing my colleagues on the debate stage that they're not thinking big enough. I know you didn't think I'd be the one saying this, but this is what I think, because I think you just can't have bumper sticker solutions. I think you have to step back and look at our economy and say, how do we make our education system fit our economy? The answer when you think of that, Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, you kind of cut off my line there. Now you're like, you gave away my punchline. I put out this 100-day plan with 137 things that you can do without Congress that are legal as a president. And one of the things I found out that you don't have to even wait 100 days to do, but you can do in 100 seconds, is fire Betsy DeVos. There you go. But more than that, when you look at our economy, let's look at the truth. Part of this is the aging of the population I just discussed. We're going to have over 1 million openings for home health care workers. We have no idea how we're going to fill them right now in our economy. We're going to have over 100,000 openings, over 100,000 for nursing assistants that require 1- and 2-year degrees. We are going to have over 70,000 openings for electricians. We are not going to have a shortage of sports marketing degrees. Sorry, anyone that has one. We are going to have a what? Yeah, someone down here. Yeah, there's always someone. We are not going to have a shortage of MBAs, let's try that, or sports marketing degrees. We are going to have a shortage of plumbers. And so we have to figure out how we create incentives for kids to go into areas that we know we have job openings. Some of those jobs are very well paid. PhD jobs, electricians are well paid. We have to look at all that thanks to unions. But we also have to look at other jobs like home health care workers that are not as well paid. And we have to look at increasing those wages and taking some of that money from those Trump tax cuts and putting into things like child care and putting it into things like retirement. And that's how I look at it, the education plan. That means investing a chunk of money into K through 12 and preschool. It means making 1- and 2-year degrees and apprenticeships free and helping people to afford those and working with our unions. It means doubling Pell Grants so it's easier for kids to go to four-year colleges. So that is how I would do this. I look at our education needs and match it up with what we need and make it easier to refinance our student loans. Other challenges we have, the rural-urban divide. I've devoted my time in the Senate to crossing that divide. I grew up in the suburbs, not far away from farms, and have spent a lot of time. When I got to the Senate, my number one ask was the Senate Agriculture Committee. And we all know that is about the Farm Bill, which I've done 3 farm bills now and helped negotiate those, but it is also about understanding that when it comes to rural areas, it is not one size fits all for education or for health care or for rural broadband. The other piece of this is climate change, which we are seeing now affect states like Iowa more and more and more. And yes, there's horrendous things going on the coast, the fires in California, the rising sea levels in Florida. But there's also things happening right here. And what are those things? Those things are things like flooding, things like weird weather events, things like making it hard to plant crops, things like my friend Fran Parr, who had me look through her binoculars, and when you look through them, you see her house, and it's near Pacific Junction, near the Nebraska border. And she says to me, "That's my house. I bought it with my husband. We live there with our 4-year-olds. I wanted to retire in this house. I love the way the light comes in the kitchen, in the windows. It's been standing there for nearly 100 years. There's horsehair in the plaster." And I said, "Well, where is the kitchen?" She says, "Oh, no, the whole first floor is underwater." And I said, "Well, where's the river?" Because this water is flowing by. Thinking in my head, "Fran, you got a house next to the river." She says, "No, no, no, that's the road. The river is 2.5 miles away. It's never come this close before." That's climate change in the state of Iowa. So the answers are right in front of us. 1, get us back into the International Climate Change Agreement on day 1. 2, bring back those clean power rules, the gas mileage standards, introduce sweeping legislation. But when we do that, we have to make sure the money that's going to come in by putting a tax on carbon or doing a renewable electricity standard nationwide, that money goes right back to the people. We have to make it airtight for their heating bills, for their cooling, for people who are going to see changes in their jobs. And by the way, Iowa, of course, can be a big beneficiary here because of the fact that you are the Saudi Arabia of wind. That's what they say. They actually say that in every Midwestern state, but we won't tell them that. But you have a great potential here, just like you did when Norman Borlaug decided to develop new technologies and new ideas to feed the world. There's great research going on here. There's the part our ag economy can play in this by creating incentives for things like cover crops that are what's in our last farm bill that we can even expand on. So I think we should see this as an exciting opportunity, but I think we have to have a president that gets how it affects the Midwest, a president that gets how it affects cold areas of our country. I remember growing up when those mines would close up, down, and open up in northern Minnesota. One time my dad and I are driving out of Duluth, and they had a big billboard, and it said, "Last one to leave, turn the lights off." I look at this problem not just with my head, but with my heart. And so we have to make sure that how we do this works for everyone. And I can promise you we can do this. Very last thing I'm going to say is that I need your help because I know I can build the coalition to win. I have done it time and time again. I have won every race, every place, every time. I have won in the reddest of districts, the one bordering Iowa, right? The one bordering the districts which will soon be JD's. I have won in the district bordering South and North Dakota. I have won in Michelle Bachmann's district every single time. Never lost it. That's because I go not just where it's comfortable, but where it's uncomfortable. It's because I have people's backs. It's because I listen to them and I get things done, and because I bring them with me instead of shutting them out. I think we should put someone at the top of the ticket that actually has the receipts. It is one thing to talk about winning in rural areas and leading a ticket and bringing people with. It's another thing to have actually done it. I think we need to put someone in charge of this ticket that has the nimbleness on the debate stage, which you have seen, I hope, in the debates, to be tough enough and quick enough to take on Donald Trump. I think we should put someone on the ticket that has the track record of actually passing bills and getting things done and has practical policy solutions that are big, bold plans, but they're not pipe dreams. And the difference between a plan and a pipe dream is a plan means you can actually bring people with you. You know how you're going to pay for it. You know how you're going to get it done. What I need to do this, though, is I need you. I was gone the last 10 days, something I never expected to happen. I do a lot of grassroots politicking. You're not going to see one of my ads in the Super Bowl tonight. You know, I wish. Maybe if the Vikings were playing, you know, you would have. But instead, I have been doing this the hard way, and I have been punching way above my weight. There were certain pundits that predicted when I started that speech in the middle of the Mississippi River in a blizzard that I would never make it to the end of the speech. Now here I am, nearly a year later. Here I am, one of the top 5 candidates in this race. And I have done it with a lot less money than a lot of my opponents and a lot less name identification and having not run for president before, like several of them had. So what I look at it is, look at our numbers given the money that we have been spending. We are frugal. You want that in a president. Yet, yesterday, we just ended our biggest fundraising month ever in this campaign because we're gaining steam. 2 polls this last week, we were up to number 3 in Iowa, one at 13%. We're gaining speed. The endorsement of the Quad City newspaper, I love that. I got in one day the endorsement of the New York Times and the Quad City Times. And I was able to say, well, one of the papers has 1 city, but the other one has 4 or maybe 5 cities. So that is momentum. And as I head to New Hampshire after our great Iowa caucuses, I will go there knowing I have the endorsement of every major newspaper so far that's endorsed in the state of New Hampshire, including the biggest one. So we are ready to win. But to do this, I need you. I always think of the color green. I picked the color green because it was the color of one of my political mentors, Paul Wellstone, the last year of his life when he tragically died in that plane crash. That was a year where he took a real brave vote against the war in Iraq, and it was also the year that he had been struggling with MS. He told the state he had MS. I was campaigning with him a lot because I didn't have an opponent in my race. Sounds nice. And I saw what he did. I saw how he was in so much pain, and he used to run back and forth really fast in all the parades, and he couldn't run fast anymore. He couldn't even run at all. And instead, he would stand on the back of that green bus, and he would wave with Sheila at his side. But here is the amazing part. There were so many people that he had energized in these green shirts that were running around that bus that you didn't even notice he wasn't running himself. That is what grassroots politics are about. That's what I'm asking you to do for me, to go to our great staff, to sign one of those commit to caucus cards. You have 2 days left. You know, my best was the former mayor of Cedar Rapids, Kay, who once told me that she, after an hour-long breakfast, she said, I got great news for you, Amy. I go, what's that, Kay? She says, I am 78% with you. We don't have time for that. She got to 100%, and so can you. So, remember, we are on this journey together. And as I go back to Washington, D.C., I'm going to know that you have my back, that you have my back. And understanding that I wish I could be here at the very last moment, but I can't. So I want you to have my back. And to remember that this march started the day after that inauguration, when millions of people marched peacefully across this country, including right here in the state of Iowa. And remember that the day after that, 6,000 women signed up to run for office. And remember that the day after that, that number doubled, and it kept doubling. And that on day 9, after he got sworn in, people spontaneously showed up at airports across the country when he announced that mean refugee ban. Who shows up at airports on a Saturday night? People did that. You go forward to day 100. My favorite march, the March for Science. My favorite sign, what do we want science? When do we want it? After peer review. You go into the summer when the 48 fighting Democrats in the United States Senate stood up against the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, joined by 3 Republicans because we stood together. And I will never forget that moment when John McCain, with his arm so injured from being tortured because he was serving our country, went in there and said no. What I remember from that week, is a mom pushing a stroller. And right before we had that vote, I was in a small town parade, and she pointed at her little toddler and she said, "This is my son. He has Down syndrome. I will do anything to fight for his health care, but this is what a pre-existing condition looks like." That was because we had united. We had united for a cause, and we won. And then you go into that fall, the first glimmers of hope in the first election after Donald Trump got elected. And what do you see? You see these victories in the strangest districts. You see a victory in a district in New Jersey where a member of the legislature had said the day of the Women's March, "I hope they're home in time to make dinner." That guy got defeated by an African-American woman. That is the march we are on. And you see, after Parkland, those students marching for gun safety. And then they didn't just march, they talked to their parents. And pretty soon you had a majority of hunters, a majority of Trump voters saying, why can't we have universal background checks? That is the march that we are on. But that march continues, and it does not end. So every day when you see one of his mean, divisive tweets, don't see it as a reason to put a blanket over your head. See it as a call to action. See it as an opportunity to win like we've never won before. That is the ticket that I want to lead. So join us, caucus with us. We're going to do this, and we're going to win. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Forget the bull in the china shop. There's a china doll in the building. Walk with the switch fire. Fist fighting at the big swing.
Thank you, everyone.
Put me in like that. Forget the bull in the china shop. There's a china doll in the building. It's all in the wrist fire.
All right, thank you guys so much. So we've got a lot of people in here right now. We're going to do a photo line as quickly as possible. We're going to have the line start over here. And while that line is starting, Amy's going to come and take some photos over here with people that can't get on the stage as well, all right? So patience possible. I'm going to start the line right over here, guys. Thank you so much.
Shallow end of the cycle. We're all cloak, no dagger, just smoke and swagger. I hope that you're at it this time. Cause I found this here lot and I can see there's no
I'm a virgin nurse for 4 years.
All right, right here.
This is my camera. No falling.
Got it for you. There we go. All right.
Virgin nurse 4 years.
Right here. Got it for you. There we go.
Will you sign some things from me and Janice? Take my camera?
Yeah.
I brought some pictures right here. The names on the back. Thank you all. Don't worry. You have like 5 minutes. 3, 4, That's from Janice. Can we get
You can sit right here. Somebody will come do it at the end, okay?
Oh, no problem.
Thank you so much.
I'm
All right,
really
here
happy.
come.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah. What's your name? All righty.
I am
All right, right here. All right, right here. this way. All right, come on up. All righty. All righty.
This all flew away.
I'll take your phone for you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is with Save the Children Action Network.
Right up here.
High quality, really stuff.
Right here.
Hi.
All right. There we go. Hey, you can go right up this way, ma'am. Thank you so much. Right up this way. She has all your stuff. Yep. Got a picture for you. Yep. Thank you. You can go right over here. I got it for you. I got the photo for you. All right, come on, guys. All right, right up here. I got it for you guys. Look great. And Tommy here has your phone. You guys go right up over here.
Thank you. And thanks for shaking my kiddo's hand. We are such a great time. We can get it in.
This is the best 17th birthday present.
All right, right here.
Yeah, I can.
All right, got it for you.
Thank you so much.
I had the John McCain sign or hat 2 weeks ago, so I wanted to come see you again. Thank you for coming to the state. Thank you for running. Yeah.
That was fun. You want to sign? All right, right here. Just sign it. That'll fun. Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yep. Go right off this way. Sign behind
Just photos here, guys.
Great, thank you. It was good.
All right. Right here. Picture right here. All right, right over here.
What person come up? Thank you. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank God for you.
Right here. Got it for you. Tommy here will take your photo. Thank you so much.
I absolutely.
All right.
I'll be there early. All right.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud. I'm proud of you.
Right up here.
You're doing cross country, our children.
Right up here, ma'am. Thank you. Right here. Got it for you. Tommy here will give you your phone right over there.
Yeah. Take care of yourself. I will.
Okay. Hi. We heard you in Davenport. We're
All right, right up here.
So did you have your
Got it for you. And Tommy here has your phone and all your bags and everything. You can head over right over this way, sir. Thank you.
I came from California to volunteer for you this week. I've been knocking on doors.
How's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for everything. I'm really, really grateful to meet you, and thank you for what you're doing.
All right, right up here.
Thank you.
All right, and Tommy here has all your stuff.
Okay. Fight the good fight.
We will.
Fight the good fight.
Okay.
All right, everybody right here. Hey! Woo! All right, I got a couple to choose from.
My Uncle
Tommy here
David
has your phone. That was a great smile.
that you mentioned Norman Borlaug.
Oh,
He always put him in the celebrity.
well, very good. Well, I hope you can come.
Yeah.
Get on the other side.
Wonderful. We saw you months
All right, right here. All right, got a couple for you right on this
Do you
phone.
want this back? Or can I keep it as a souvenir? Oh, that might be. Yeah, you can do that. We're pulling for you. Okay, good. Well,
All right, come on up.
thank you.
Right here. All right, there you go.
Hi, Senator. Hi.
All right, right up here, right here. Got it for you. Tommy here has your phone.
Good luck to you.
Come on up.
I'm coming to bring you good luck for tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, this is Ganesh. Ganesh is a Hindu deity, right? He is for new beginnings, auspicious new beginnings, and overcoming obstacles.
I'm going to need this tomorrow.
I gave something similar to Obama back 13 years ago, and it worked.
All right, come together for a photo. Right up here, right here. Got it for you. There you go. And Tommy here has your phone. Thank you guys so much.
We got your back. I hope it's warm. Yeah, well. We got your back. We don't care. We got it.
All right, right here. All right, got a couple for you. Tommy, you're taking the phone if you guys want to come right up this way. Thank you so much.
Hi, Amy. I was one of those people at 78%, but now I'm 100. I'm excited hard today. I love you.
All right, right up here. Got it for you. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam President,
It's
to
out
be.
right over here.
Will be. Okay.
Sinead here has your phone right down there.
Thank you so much.
I'm Senator. I'm former Republican.
Got it for you. There you
Good
go.
luck, Senator. So I want to say we now made up our mind.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
We've seen everybody again.
Right here. Got it for you. There you go.
Thanks for this.
How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
I'm a scientist. I really like your the comment about the peer review. That's awesome. Awesome.
Good. Well, I hope that makes you
So you believe in science, right?
big time.
Boom. There we go.
Right here.
Come on up.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
All right. Was undecided until today, lady.
All right, right here. I got a couple good ones. And Tommy, you'll take the phone. Go right up this way.
That means so much. I'm Patty Balls. Yeah. Retired educator. Oh, very good.
All righty, right here, guys. Right up here. Got it for you. There you go.
All right. Thank you. Oh, that means so much. I feel a lot of
Hi, how are you?
Right here.
Got my support.
Right here. Oh, love it. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is a picture of me and my wife. Our two daughters and my dad. Stephanie, my wife, special education teacher. I'm a retired family take care of my kids and my daughters. We were married 1 month to the day after the Iowa Supreme Court.
Can I grab a picture for you?
Yeah. Minnesota had the thing I was here. Oh, yes. That's the way to get it done. Yeah.
All right, right up here. Right here. All right, got it for you. There you go.
Thank you for running. And I'm really sorry about those. They were.
All right, right up here. Right here. Right here.
Okay.
All right, got it for you. Yeah, right down there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, right up here, everybody. Right here. Got it for you. Tommy, you're okay, right down that way. Thank you. Come on up, folks.
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
All right, right here. Got it for you. And Tommy, you're taking your phone.
Where do you live in Georgia?
Atlanta.
Yeah. Very good.
My
Good debate there. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. It means so much that you're here.
Oh, it's
I
great.
can't wait to get to Georgia.
Yeah, we'll be looking for you.
All righty. Right here. All righty. Yep, try this phone. Right here. All right, got it for you. There you go. And the phone's on that phone. You'll have to send it to her. Her phone didn't work. All right.
Hello. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
All right, everybody, right here.
That was so good.
Oh, thank you.
Right here. All right. Got it. There we go.
You might have
You do.
Short.
What? Oh, boy.
Right here. Got it for you. There you go. Head up that way.
Great job.
Okay, thanks.
Arkansas has returned.
Oh, you're back.
Thank you for coming to Little
Oh,
Rock.
are you kidding? I love
All
that.
right, right up here.
We're here tomorrow night for
Right here.
Rapid Coffee.
That's awesome. There we go. And Tommy, you'll take your phone. Thank you guys so much.
Come to Arkansas.
I will. I love it.
Hi, Senator. It's great to meet you.
Yeah.
I grew up in South St. Paul.
Oh, great. All right,
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Come on up, guys.
Hi, Amy. Hey there. How are you? Oh, very good.
All righty, right here, everybody. Right up here. Got it for you. There you go. And Tommy here will take your phone right over there. All right, ready? Step on up. Ready. Right here, right up here. Got it for you. There you go. Tommy here will take your phone. Come on up.
Thank you so much.
Hi there. Yes.
Alrighty, right here, right here.
Yeah.
Got it for you. Tommy here has your phone. Right down that way. Alrighty. Come on up. Alrighty. Alright, right up here. Got it, there we go.
Thank you.
Alright, right here. Right up here. Oh, that looks great. There you go.
Thank you.
Come on up. Alrighty.
Hi, how are you?
Alrighty, right here. Got it for you. There you go. Come on up. Alright.
She was happily living in France and she came back. I love that. I went knocking on doors with her yesterday. I'm just here for the weekend. I'm from Illinois. Oh my God.
Hi, guys.
Alright, guys, right here. There we go. School, baby. Alright, there you go.
When you become president, I like you to try and make a lot of the activities without making the class down because it's bad for
Alright, right here.
Thank you. Oh,
Right here.
Great picture.
Alright, there you go.
all right.
Hi again. I wanted to thank you for mentioning mental health.
Yes.
That's a huge, probably my biggest issue.
Right, right.
Alright, right up here.
I'm an extra piece.
Right here. Got it for you. There you go.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Alright, come on up. Alright, right here.
Nice.
Got it for you. Tell me your